As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation. But it was a discovery here in Basel, Switzerland, at Sandoz Laboratories by Dr. Albert Hofmann that led the intelligence agencies of America to believe that they had found the panacea. The discovery was lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. The film that you see is considered by many experts to be the closest illustration of the effects of a hallucinogenic.
It was one of the first times that anybody had run into a powerful drug that was different than anything else that they knew anything about.
John Gittinger, recently retired chief psychologist for the CIA. This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
By the end of the 1950s, the CIA had created a plethora of programs that were designed to change the way humans think and behave. Eventually, these programs would also target the media, education, and even Hollywood.
So MKUltra is probably the most famous of the U.S. mind control programs. I mean, it's an iconic program, and it's been in movies galore. It's all about mind control. So what's interesting about MKUltra is, A, it was secret for many years. No one had any inkling that this was going on. And we're talking, look, some horrific, off the charts, like Frankenstein-type experiments. We're talking sensory deprivation experiments on unwilling and unwitting human subjects, some of them terminal, all right? Some of this stuff done at Edgewood Arsenal in New Jersey, and some of them done off American soil by the really, truly evil Dr. Ewan Cameron, formerly head of the World Psychiatric Association over at McGill University in Canada, where he did, in addition to lobotomies on women in menopause going because they were having anxiety, he did what he called psychic driving. This is all for the CIA. Lovely stuff here in the early 1960s. So in other words, the idea was he would somehow find a way of emptying their minds of unhealthy thoughts, however he determined that, and driving in thoughts that he thought were positive. Can you imagine how utterly sick this was? This was the head, one of the most prestigious psychiatrists in the world.
Now I know what it feels like to be God.
Operation Mockingbird is called. It's a whole project to infiltrate Central Intelligence Agency people into the media and to put out false stories and to suppress truthful stories and affect the news. And they undoubtedly do that in Hollywood. There's not any doubt of that.
You know, it's an interesting thing. When Richard Condon wrote The Manchurian Candidate in the late 50s, it was interesting because he was really focusing on the Chinese and the North Koreans. But I guarantee you, by the late 50s, the US was so far ahead of the Chinese and North Koreans, and probably even the Russians, in what we would call brainwashing techniques. And I don't really know what Condon knew, but I suspect he knew quite a bit. Our intelligence community has just done all these things. And by the way, they did it with their own cache of imported Nazi scientists, courtesy of Project Paperclip. Thanks, guys. But by swallowing the Nazi pill, which is really what America did after World War II, we, in a lot of ways, became the enemy that we fought against. The irony is that in World War II, we fought the Nazis and then became the Nazis. The irony is that during the Cold War, we opposed the Soviets and now have become the Soviets. You know, Nietzsche always said, beware of fighting monsters, lest you become one. And guess what? We're there.
The mind control program, the MKUltra program, was a very, very specific, major biophysical manipulation. You know, this other thing of propaganda and trying to, they refer to it as public diplomacy against the United States people. Well, there's not any doubt about that they're engaged in propaganda, in trying to mold public opinion. That's what Operation Mockingbird is all about, putting them into the media and planting stories.
Other experiments were not as conventional. Neurophysicist Dr. Jose Delgado was financed by the Office of Naval Research. In this experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal. Recently released CIA documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.